Australia's Sydney Opera House, one of the greatest design concepts ever conceived. A shape so complex that it nearly can't be built. A construction process on the very edge of impossible. But the history of this building is more than one of concrete and steel. It is the story of a broken dream, a fallen hero, and a final chapter that is about to be unfurled. Sydney, Australia, bustling modern super city, lifestyle capital of the world. Beaches, suntans, and a giant glittering harbour as the city's beating heart. But mention Sydney to anyone, and it's not this they think of. It's this, a building that both defines and is defined by the city that surrounds it.
It's awesome.
Beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
A very good place for me.
It's like some kind of alien basis or something.
It is designed in such a way which reflects the mentality of the progress of Australian people who are of multilingual, multinational culture.
The Sydney Opera House is simple in concept, yet infinitely complex in design. A performance space that marries the realms of form and function like no other structure ever built. Yet few people realize the drama that surrounds its creation. Designed nearly 50 years ago, it is a building that rewrote the record books, changing not just the way we design buildings, but how we build them as well.
Couldn't have been built at any other time. It actually extended the boundaries of imagination for architectural form.
The shells alone will take 150,000 man-hours to design. This is more than just an engineering riddle. It is an engineering nightmare. Yet from the most complex of problems will come the simplest of solutions. A solution that will change forever the borders of impossible. Designed by Danish architect Jon Utzon, the human story of the Sydney Opera House is one of triumph, drama, and heartache. Of challenging the very laws of nature.
If he came up with a better idea, he had no hesitation of scrapping all the previous work. He wanted perfection.
You had to create something like a sculpture which could be seen from all sides. It sits in a harbor with buildings of a square character, and you don't want to have the name Opera House written on it. You want to see this is an opera house like you see this is a church.
But behind the story of the masterpiece is the story of the disaster.
He wanted to do things one way, the government another.
Budgets blowing out by 1,500%. Timelines stretching from 5 years to 14. And a visionary architect who doesn't just leave the building, he leaves the country. And to this day, the mastermind, Jon Utzon, still hasn't seen the building finished.
That building was his life's work. And to be deprived of finishing it was, you know, it broke his heart.
30 years after their ruin, Jon Utzon's broken dreams are about to be rebuilt.
There were some compromises, and those, I think the time has come to fix those.
Future plans coming not just from the man himself, but from his son as well.
They asked my father, would you please consider coming back and help us with this problem?
Jon Utzon, an accomplished architect in his own right, is helping to devise schemes that will see his father's creation flourish, not just for the coming decades, but for the coming centuries. But But who was Jorn Utzon, and what makes him so special?
You know, Utzon had an incredibly good understanding of nature. He had a structural understanding of it. He also had the understanding of how we feel in its presence, whether it's on the flat plain of the sea, or whether it's on the windy ridge, or whether it's down in the dunes. He had an understanding of the feeling that impacts upon the human personality.
Consulting Sydney Harbour marine charts, and without having ever set foot in Australia, let alone the proposed construction site at Bennelong Point, Jorn Utzon develops his scheme.
If you saw a list of all the stuff that's needed there, you'd say, how the hell can I solve this complex problem? But he said, no, he said, we make a platform. The platform houses all the interstices of the workings, where the artists prepare. The top of the platform is where they perform to the public, and the roof is the shelter.
The benefit of this approach is that the building does more than just fit the landscape. It becomes the landscape.
But I wanted to make the whole peninsula one piece of architecture down to the water.
As part of an international competition from some of the biggest names in world design, Jorn Utzon's plan is a revelation.
I mean, it's just such a simple building. You could draw it on your thumbnail. It's that simple, and yet it's so complex. Powers of reductive thinking. Brilliant man.
Bennelong Point is one of the most prominent headlands of Sydney Harbour, visible from not just multiple angles around the site, but from above as well. Inspired by a similar landscape near his home in Denmark, Utzon develops a concept dubbed the fifth facade, a way of looking at his design, not just from the front, back or sides, but from everywhere.
You know, the word invention, it means in venere, to go to the heart of a problem. It doesn't mean that it's something new. It's going to the core of a problem.
Judges unanimously award Utzon first prize. At only 38, he is relatively young. The Opera House will be his first major international project. Little does he know, it will almost be his last. The radical shape of the Sydney Opera House is unlike anything that has ever been built before. With today's technology, it would still be a challenge. But 50 years ago, when it was first designed, it borders on impossible.
Each platform in engineering, you always build on the past. You know, as people go through and they see certain things work, then they know that the next step is a little beyond that perimeter where you've been before. But to jump right out into space, that can be scary at times.
John Nutt's team of engineers are a group of remarkable maths and physics wizards charged with giving structure and strength to Utzon's amazing design.
The whole thing in this building is that architecture, engineering, construction all merge into one. So you never quite know, where the boundaries of one are. And that's one of the aspects of great architecture.
Unlike a regular building, where strength can be found in simple straight lines, vertical walls and geometric angles, the sails of the Sydney Opera House are a maze of curves and complex geometry. The ideal form for the Opera House is some kind of shell structure. But making one that's both 20 stories tall and strong enough to hold its own weight has simply never been done before.